All right, it's really coming down, but we're gonna push forward. All right, there's obviously a lot of very legitimate gripes about Portland, Oregon, living in Portland, Oregon, but people are still moving here. I mean, the city's population has been shrinking slightly for the last 3 years. That's something that we've addressed in other videos. There are some qualities about the Portland metro area that make it a great place to live, despite some of the ugly stuff. So if you wanna learn more about what makes Portland a good place to live, if you wanna learn more about why people are still moving to the area, we're going to talk about it in this video. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the top reasons why people are still moving to Portland and what makes the area actually a pretty good place to live. Now, in this video, I'm going to go on a little adventure. I'm actually going to follow the 4T trail today. The 4T trail is the tram, the trolley, the train, and a trail. So you have the tram that runs from OHSU, you have the streetcar, which is the trolley, and then you have the train, which is the Max Light Rail, and then you have the trail. And all throughout Portland, you have this huge trail system that can get you around, which is really kind of cool. So I'm going to take the opportunity to show you guys the 4T trail in this video as well. Now, I've never done this before. I just parked my car down here on South Waterfront. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know if I'm going to run out of batteries on my GoPro or my drone. I've had too much coffee. I might get lost. I don't know. So stick around to the end to see if I can make it back safely. And check out the rest of this video if you want to learn more about what actually makes Portland a pretty good place to live. Now, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. All right, I just took the tram from South Waterfront up to OHSU and hit the Markham Trail behind OHSU, going up into the West Hills. We're gonna start with number one on the list, why people are moving to the Portland metro area, why this is a great place to live, all of the outdoor space, all the natural beauty, the landscape. Probably, you know, definitely amongst the top reasons, potentially the top reason we hear from people of why they're moving here, especially people who are coming from, you know, places like Arizona and Texas and Idaho. You know, we have all this lush landscape, these rainforests, you know, a ton of different species of trees, all the different vegetation. There are over 500 miles of trails throughout Portland parks and throughout the Portland metro area. You have Tryon Creek, for example, you have Forest Park. I think that's like over 80 miles of trails in and of itself. And all of that is just, you know, within 10 minutes of downtown Portland. Throughout the Portland metro area, you have a ton of huge parks, playgrounds, trails, all kinds of stuff to get outside and check out. So, you know, obviously being outdoors, you know, experiencing nature is a good way to spend some time. I think there's definitely some, you know, aspects to it of lending itself to a more healthy lifestyle, just being outside, walking around, you know, getting some exercise. I think it definitely contributes to more of a healthy lifestyle. I mean, if you think about it, I went from a dense urban center to a world-renowned hospital to a big old forest hiking around, you know, all within 10 or 15 minutes on foot. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's definitely one of the main attractions for people moving to the area, is just all the opportunity to get outside and enjoy it. All right, another reason why people would move to Portland is we actually have a pretty vibrant arts scene and culture overall. We've talked about this in other videos. You know, I think the culture here is a little bit homogenous to some degree. Obviously, we celebrate diversity, but, you know, you got the whole hipster thing and keep Portland weird. And obviously, you know, it's no secret how the city leans politically, for example. But overall, you know, in Portland, there is a pretty distinct culture. There's over 50 music venues and museums. Portland hosts over 100 events throughout the year. A lot of the big events down on the waterfront, like the Blues Festival, the Rose Festival, Cinco de Mayo, Pride Festival. A lot of really fun stuff to do, in particular in the warmer months. Part of that too is going to be the culinary scene in Portland. Portland is routinely ranked amongst the top cities in the country for foodies. A big part of that is our food carts. We have a lot of these different food cart pods that have a dozen or a couple dozen food carts and picnic tables and a little beer cart or bar cart, you know, where you can actually, you know, hang out, have a good time. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that a lot of people like to enjoy doing. I think there's over like 600 food carts in the city of Portland and in the metro area, so you have a ton of options. But there's also a lot of nicer, kind of fancier restaurants too, so you can get a pretty big range. You know, there's quite a breadth of culinary experience, or, you know, options for going out to eat. There's also, you know, a big cafe culture. You know, coffee is really big here. Obviously the breweries. Portland has more breweries than any city in the country per capita. So the arts, the culture, the music, you know, the food, the beverage, you know, those things are really big staples of the culture in Portland. And I think that's a big reason why people are attracted to the city. Another reason why a lot of people enjoy living in the Portland area and would consider moving to the area is Portland's commitment to being environmentally friendly. Now, you know, for the few people out there who might, you know, squabble over, you know, what climate change is and, you know, what the actual impacts might be, I think we can all agree that living in a place that is less polluted and is cleaner and more energy efficient and just overall more sustainable is a net positive and a good thing. And Portland, you know, obviously one of the most progressive cities in the country, has a really strong commitment to being environmentally sustainable and environmentally friendly. So there are a lot of initiatives in the city and in the Portland metro area that really support this cause. And I think for the most part, the residents of Portland and of the metro area get behind this idea. So I think most people kind of approach things in an environmentally conscious way. A lot of businesses, in particular local businesses in the area, you know, really try to be as environmentally conscious as possible. You know, Portland has a recycling rate of over 70%, which is one of the highest in the country. Portland is rated, you know, one of the greenest cities in the country on a regular basis. So, you know, for some people that might not matter as much necessarily, but again, you know, it's hard to say that that's not an overall good thing. You know, living in an area that's going to be more clean, you know, have less pollution. And I think that's definitely one of the reasons that attracts people to the region. All right, I'm like not even a third of the way in and I'm pretty winded, but we're gonna get there. Another reason why people might choose to move to Portland is education. Now, on aggregate, Oregon is not ranked incredibly high. You know, neither is Portland in terms of public education, graduation rates, test scores, things like that. There are really highly rated school districts throughout the Portland metro area. You know, Lake Oswego, Beaverton, for example. Portland Public Schools is enormous. You know, Beaverton Schools too, for example, is like 92 schools. So you're going to see a really big range as far as school ratings, but there are really good schools out there. There are a lot of opportunities for private schools as well. Probably not nearly as much as other places around the country. Something I would compare it to is like Seattle, for example. I feel like, you know, 1 out of every 2 person I know or have met from Seattle went to a private school. In Portland, people I've, you know and have grown up with around the Portland metro area, it's probably like less than 10% people attended private school. So it's not as common here, but you certainly can find it. Portland and the metro area, you know, in and of itself is a pretty highly educated area. So, you know, there's a high percentage of residents who have bachelor's or master's degrees, and you also have a pretty high volume of colleges and universities in Portland as well. So Portland State University is one of the biggest colleges or universities in the state, and that's right in the heart of downtown Portland. But you also have like Reed College and Lewis and Clark College, which are pretty highly rated liberal arts colleges nationally. So education is definitely a big part of kind of the culture in Portland and living in the Portland metro area, and that's certainly going to be a draw for a lot of people. All right, I just went about a mile in the wrong direction, so I'm going to take a quick break, try to make up some ground here, and we'll be right back with you. I'm still trying to get back on track here, going in the right direction. But before we go any further, if you are thinking about moving to Portland or to the Portland metro area, and if you want to talk more about what different neighborhoods are like, what the real estate process is like, what it's going to be like living here, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk all about that. All right, we're back on track. And the good news is I found a shortcut and I get to walk up through Portland Heights and Council Crest. We'll check out some really cool houses up in this area. But the bad news is it started raining. I don't know if I'm gonna make it today, so stick around to the end to see if I can get back to my car. I think I got quite a bit of asphalt to walk on before we get back to the trail. We're gonna go up to Council Crest Park, which is super cool. I don't know how the views are gonna be with the clouds and the rain that have rolled in, but we'll see if we can sneak a peek of downtown Portland. All right, I've hit a checkpoint. I could continue on this road or I could hit the trail here. I ended up going this way instead of that way. We need to get up to the zoo to get to the max, to the train, the third T that we'll hit today. Doubting myself a little bit right now, but I'm gonna push forward, see what we can do, and I promise I'll tell you a little bit more about why Portland's a great place to live. I've made it to Council Crest Park. Beautiful area. There was once gonna be an amusement park up here, which is kind of cool. I'm gonna sit down for a little bit, get my heart rate down. I think I'm about halfway to the zoo. I'm gonna check the map, make sure I'm on the right track. All right, another big reason why people move to Portland or would consider moving to Portland is because they're moving here for a job, or because the job market is actually pretty strong. The job market grows at about 2.5% a year. Obviously, we have the Silicon Forest in Beaverton and primarily Hillsborough, but there is a lot of jobs in apparel, manufacturing. There's a lot of creative jobs too, in marketing and advertising and media. So, you know, the job market really is pretty strong. Portland also has a pretty strong entrepreneurial spirit. So, you know, there's a lot of people here who start small businesses, who, you know, try to do their own thing and kind of go off on their own. So that's a pretty common theme with a lot of people in the Portland area. So the job market, again, is really strong. One of the top reasons we hear from people why they're moving to Portland is because they were relocated here for a job that they already had, or they moved here because they got a job at one of the many companies throughout the Portland metro area. I'm back on trail now, at least for now. And I'm going to tell you another reason why people enjoy living in the Portland area, or why people would consider moving to the area. And that's because Portland itself has a ton of really cool, eclectic, unique neighborhoods, but there's also a really diverse range in terms of the type of setting that you could live in, all within a 10, 12, 15 mile radius of downtown Portland. So Portland itself, you have the east side, in particular southeast Portland, and a lot of northeast Portland, which has just the quintessential, you know, Portland, Portlandia type neighborhoods. A lot of great entertainment. I mean, the coffee shops, the breweries, the restaurants, the bars, all that good stuff. Really cool places to go out and check out. And a lot of people want to live in an area that's going to be more walkable. These types of neighborhoods are going to be perfect for somebody looking for a more walkable area. You also have the west side of Portland, which has a lot of these hills. So there's an enormous trail network throughout the southwest hills and into northwest as well. Of course, you have Forest Park. But it's not just the hiking. I mean, not everybody likes to get out and walk around, you know, for hours on end like I am doing today. But just the setting that you're in. I mean, you're living in this forest. You have the trees, the landscape, the nature. You get a lot of great views. So even if you're not looking at downtown Portland, you could be looking west out to the Tualatin Valley. Really, really nice views living up here. And there's probably not a ton of places in the country that look just like this when you look at the West Hills and what Portland has to offer in terms of this type of environment. But you can also get out into the suburbs, which are primarily going to be on the west side of the river in the Tualatin Valley, Beaverton, Hillsborough, Tigard, Tualatin, Westland, Lake Oswego, Sherwood, Wilsonville, but also on the east side you have Milwaukee, Gladstone, Happy Valley, you have Oregon City, all the way out to Gresham, Troutdale. So there's a lot of different types of suburbs, old and new, where regardless you're going to be in a more suburban area than more of an urban area like some of the neighborhoods in Portland. And all of these different suburbs are going to have their own unique characteristics and attributes. Some are going to be closer to Portland, some are going to be further you know, from Portland. And again, there's just going to be different offerings as far as how expensive homes are, how many parks are in an area, what the schools are like. So that's really where, you know, we help a lot of people relocating to the Portland metro area from out of state. You know, if you're not really all that familiar with the landscape and the layout and what different areas are going to be like, that's really where we come in and help people learn about these different things to start to prioritize where might be a good landing spot. And usually it's going to make more sense, or make the most sense, to identify, I mean, 3, 4, 5 different areas that could work. And a lot of people, you know, do like the idea of living in Portland proper, living in some of these really cool neighborhoods that Portland has. But, you know, there might be some downside to that they're not willing to look past, or they also could see themselves living in a more suburban setting. So really, for anybody, regardless of your circumstance, what you're looking for, there's going to be a lot of options. And that, again, is a big reason why people end up moving to the area. We are back out into the neighborhood. So this neighborhood is like Portland Heights, Southwest Hills, really cool neighborhood. All right, so the Max station at the zoo is about a mile away on the Markham Trail here, but the Markham Trail is closed. So the only other route is about 2 miles on foot, and I really don't have another choice. All right, in hindsight, this was a pretty dumb thing to do. We got closed trails and going the wrong way. I'm up here at Sylvan now, and I have to eat something to make it the rest of the way. But final stretch to get to the zoo, where I can get on the train, the Max, to get to the trolley, then to get back to my car. So stick with me and I'll give you a couple more reasons why Portland's a great place to live. This sucks. If you're gonna do the 4T trail, don't do the Sunset Highway trail here. As you can tell, it's very loud by the freeway. But we're about 20 minutes to the zoo, so we'll see you there. Well, we've made it. Aren't you glad you followed me all this way to see the zoo's parking lot? It's probably a little too rainy to fly the drone right now. I don't think I can even fly the drone over the zoo, actually, but the Oregon Zoo is incredible. And it's one of many attractions that are great for families, great for kids. They have a membership. It ranges from like $100 to $200 a year, depending on how many people are in your family and how many people you would be bringing. But you could go an unlimited amount of time. So the zoo is a great place to take kids. And, you know, Portland is a great place to raise kids. There's a lot of attractions and amenities and things to do if you have kids. I mean, the Portland metro area itself is home to over 200 parks. There's a ton of playgrounds, green spaces, natural areas, and it's not all like trails and things like that where you have to, you know, be all that adventurous. There's a ton of parks all throughout different neighborhoods in Portland and all throughout the suburbs in the Portland metro area. We talked about the schools a little bit, and there definitely are some good options for schools, and there's really some good options for really safe and family-friendly suburbs. There's going to be a pretty big range across the metro area when you look at like crime and safety rating and things like that. And there's a handful of areas that are just head and shoulders above the rest as far as safety and low crime and things like that. So if that's the type of area that you would want to be in, there's certainly opportunity for that in the metro area. All right, if we're talking about the zoo, we have to talk about OMSI as well, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. There's also a yearly membership there where $150, and you can go an unlimited amount of times. It's a super cool place to take kids, really interesting. They have a lot of exhibits that come in and cycle throughout the year. So OMSI, the zoo, and again, just getting outside, getting into the parks. There's a lot of great stuff to do for kids here. All right, I gotta figure out how to pay and where I'm going here so I can take the Max train to the streetcar trolley downtown, get on the trolley, and get back to my car. All right, so this is the only underground train station in Portland. All the light rail runs above ground, but up here at Washington Park, we're going down, I hope. right, I just took the MAX train from Washington Park to downtown Portland, right in the middle of downtown, about where the Portland Library is. So super easy to do, and I think one of the reasons people really enjoy living in Portland and would consider moving here is it's a relatively small city. It's easy to get around. The public transportation is really, really good. Obviously, you know, I'm engaging in that right now, but you know, even the interstate system, the highways, I mean, it's not that hard to get from place to place. Traffic can be pretty bad at times during rush hour. You're gonna get that in any city, obviously. But again, Portland being relatively small, the metro area is pretty sprawled out, but you know, getting from one side of town to another is not the end of the world. Also, Portland is super bike friendly, so there are bike lanes everywhere. If you want to travel on a bike, it's really easy to get around, in particular in the city. Another component of getting around town is Portland is a very walkable city too. So if you look at the neighborhoods in Southeast and in Northeast, like we had talked about, a little bit of Southwest and some in Northwest and the downtown side, like the Pearl District and the Northwest District, getting around downtown, really easy to do if you want to get out and walk around. So living in and around the city, it's going to be a very walkable place to live too, which I think a lot of people appreciate. All right, here is the Portland Library. It's a good place to spend an afternoon. There's like 3 stories in here. It's a really cool historic building. Good place to take a nap out front. We're gonna go catch the streetcar, and we are on our last leg of our 4T trail. I have at least 1 or 2 more reasons to tell you why people like living in Portland. We'll get to it here in a minute. All right, I hopped off the streetcar real quick because I wanted to make sure I was on the right one to get back to South Waterfront, but there's just a few more reasons I'll talk about why Portland, Oregon is a great place to live, and you know, why people would consider moving here. The next one is just the community overall. We talked about the culture a bit, but Portland and the metro area is home to over 90 neighborhood associations. There's just a really tight-knit, strong community feel in a lot of areas. I mean, you'll get that in some areas more than others for sure, but I mean, you know, spending time volunteering and getting involved in the community is something that I think a lot of people really enjoy doing. And you see that too with a lot of like neighborhood events, community events. I mean, people love their farmers markets around here. Community gardens are a really popular thing. Everywhere you go throughout Portland and throughout the metro area, you've got community gardens. So again, I think there really is a strong, tight-knit sense of community in a lot of areas around Portland that you would live. All right, another reason why people would move here is because we have a relatively mild climate. I mean, we don't necessarily have the best weather in the world, but we definitely don't get the extreme of the extremes in terms of heat, nor, you know, the cold side of things and the crazy winter weather. Now, every few years we get really bad winter storms. Every few years we get really bad heat waves, and we're always going to get days in the 90s and up over 100. We'll get a you know, few days of that typically every summer. We'll get ice, we'll get a little bit of snow, but it is relatively mild. And beyond that, we get to experience all 4 seasons, you know, so we get all this great vegetation. Obviously, you know, the rain is a contributing factor to that, and that's not always the most fun thing to deal with, but something we hear from a lot of people moving to the areas. They're moving here for a more mild climate. And the last point I'll make after this long journey today is that people like being in the Pacific Northwest. So it's not just in Portland or in the Portland metro area, but everything you have within an hour or 2 hours drive of Portland, or even getting up to Seattle, or getting to Central Oregon, to Southern Oregon, all the way up and down the Oregon coast. You know, we've got mountain ranges, lakes, rivers, of course the ocean. You know, there's all kinds of stuff to do to get out and see, get outdoors and experience. So the landscape is beautiful. We have a ton of diverse climates, you know, from high desert to the more coastal climate in the valley, and especially out at the coast. Even in Southern Oregon, there's more of like a Mediterranean climate. So just a different feel there overall too. So you get a lot of diversity in the things you can get out and explore. And I think a lot of people move to Portland to be in the region, to be in the Pacific Northwest, and to have the opportunity to get out and experience everything that is at our doorstep. All right, in hindsight, I could have just gone and parked somewhere and hiked on the trail a little bit and called it good. We made the full round trip here. It took about 5 hours, a couple stops, had to catch my breath, let my heart rate get down, had to stop and eat. The tram up to OHSU cost $8. The ticket for TriMet to get on Max and the trolley cost $2.80. That was for like 2.5 hours. Didn't need that much time. The trip itself cost me at least a couple days of being able to walk, but I figured this would be a fun thing to do, get out, show people what it's like to get out and about, especially hiking up in some of those trails. It's a lot of fun. Definitely don't have to go as far as I did today. And it's not lost on me that this video is painting Portland in a rosy light. You know, there's definitely plenty wrong with the city, and we've documented a lot of that. We do a lot of negative titles, gets a lot more people clicking, to be completely honest. So I figured we could do something in a little more positive light this time around. If you are thinking about moving to Portland, if you want to learn more about what it's like living in Portland, living in the metro area, what areas might suit you best, if you want to talk about the process in particular of relocating to here from out of state, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call. We can talk about all of that. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap that little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.